Hey,
Hey,
how are you?
doing good. How about yourself?
Good. I gotta say the outfit is pretty dope.
Thank you.
We're gonna talk all about Rikkole Cree and everything you have coming up. But for those who don't know, can I get a quick intro about who you are, your name, like what are a few of the things that make Joe Joe?
Okay, so I go by a few names.
Okay.
Joseph Johnson, Joseph Bob, and my ancestral name is Wyoxted. I'm a enrolled member of the Nooksack Indian tribe, born and raised in Lummi. Mother and father are both Lummi. Also have some Vancouver Island ancestry, so I'm also a registered member of Sartlip, West Saanich, so from Vancouver Island.
Can you say the ancestral name one more time?
Wyoxted.
Wyoxted.
Yep.
Unbelievable. So I know you as Joseph Bob.
Yep. Legal.
Legal name is
Yep.
Joseph Bob.
Yep.
And so I met you, I want to say it was a few months ago. As we started, I have been doing PT and treating a few of the Nooksack paddlers. And that's kind of how we initially met, treating injuries associated with paddling. Now, over the course of the last few months, I have learned a tremendous amount about tribal culture, native culture, and how important this is. But more importantly, your crew, Rikkole Cree Crew, which shirt you're wearing, has been doing incredible things.
Thank you.
And so I want to get into a lot of that and some of the history around it. So what brought you, because not only are you a member of the Rikkole Cree Crew, but you're also skipper
Yep.
of the Rikkole Cree.
Steersman, skipper. Yep. Coach.
So fill me in on your history with paddling specifically.
Okay, so with paddling specifically, so I grew up playing all kinds of sports: basketball, baseball, football. I even tried soccer. Wasn't able to kick very well, but I met my wife, and she was a paddler, and she's been a paddler since she was 10, 11 years old. Her dad, Rick Edwards, is the owner of Rikkole Cree, the canoe, and founded Rikkole Cree Canoe Club with his wife, Donia. So when I first met, we first met, I was still playing softball a lot. I quickly realized that if I wanted to spend time with her, I'd have to get out on the water and start paddling.
The things we do for our women.
So I picked up a paddle and went and tried it out and just fell in love with everything about paddling. The culture, the being outside, the water, traveling to different locations every weekend, the family aspect of being a part of a crew and a team, and the hard work behind it.
Yeah. And I'm curious about that because we have had many conversations in the PT room just about the history around paddling and its connection with the culture, with the native culture. What is your experience with that?
Paddling and the connection with the native culture. So, well, first of all, I kind of want to back
Yeah.
up when you said you first met me. You first met me, I was pretty crumpled up. And thanks to a lot of help from you, you kind of straightened a lot of those issues out. And that comes with paddling, right? It comes with just repetition of so much, just beating our bodies up,
Right.
pushing ourselves to our limits. But the culture part of the paddling is we have canoe clubs or canoe families. They're typically one family that own the canoe or take care of the canoe. And we get to travel every weekend to compete and race against other canoe families and other canoe clubs. In, Coast Salish territory, we're all, one way or another, you're going to find a family connection. You're going to find a family tie, or you're going to find that closeness and bond throughout all of Indian country in Coast Salish territory and further. So the culture part comes from we get to go visit family. We get to go visit relatives. We even get to go visit where our ancestors once paddled. Same waters, same lakes, same rivers, same beaches. And I was told that through our paddling, when we get to travel to these other communities, we bring our good spirit, we bring our good feeling, we bring our prayers, because paddling isn't just a sport. It's also almost a religion type thing, but it's not like a religion. There's a lot of prayers that go into it. There's a lot of uplift that goes into it. There's a lot of that kind of aspect that comes with cultural paddling. And then there's the sports side of it too, where it is a competition.
And it's a grueling one.
Oh, it is.
It is. I mean, you're representing Rikkole Cree. I've worked with a number of the Rikkole Cree athletes. And
because we get so beat up.
Well, this is what we're saying. The season itself is grueling. I mean, you are racing every weekend.
Yep.
As a PT, we talk about repetitive and overuse injuries, and the more common sports, running, cycling, these are what we consider some of the most injury prone because of the repetitive nature of it. Mm-hmm. Paddling in its very nature is a repetitive task. And you guys are not only practicing every day, because I know how hard you guys practice, but you are competing, and there's a lot of variables with the length, the speed, the differences in intensity. However, the one thing that is consistent is the frequency. Yep. I mean, we're talking about from, what is it, April or May?
Yep.
To when is Catalina? Well, end of September?
We typically start in March, and Catalina is the first week in September. Yeah.
And you're every single weekend?
Yep. And we've actually, since we've kind of transitioned into outrigger paddling as well as our native war canoe races, we're kind of pushing our season even further into the late summer and fall. Like last year, to even qualify to be able to represent Team USA in the IVF World Sprints Championships, those trials were held in October. So we pushed all the way through September to October just to get down there and qualify.
I want to spend some time talking about Worlds, because it's coming up, and it's the big thing that we've been prepping for you, for the athletes, and for Rikkole Cree. Talk to me a little bit about the difference between war canoe and outrigger canoe, because what you're doing in Hawaii is outrigger.
Correct.
Okay, but Rikkole Cree is primarily a war canoe.
Correct.
Club.
Yep.
What is the difference there?
So the difference is, well, obviously the style of the canoe. Our war canoes are typically one cedar log dugout. More so nowadays, you're seeing more laminated strip canoes, but our women's Rikkole Cree Canoe Club and our kids all race the traditional dugout war canoe. We don't have the outrigger, so we don't have the Yako and the Ama attached, so it's open hull. And the difference is, so in our war canoes, we have up to 11 seats. Outrigger's only 6 seats. Has the Ama, and it's more Hawaiian, Polynesian, Tahitian style.
The outriggers are?
The outriggers are.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
And they're built more for distance.
Yeah, they are definitely a lot more comfortable than our canoes, because our canoes are wider and lower, so we're almost sitting under water level or at water level. On the outriggers, we kind of get a little bit of leverage by sitting higher. The seats are more comfortable, and we don't have to slide when we switch sides.
Is there a difference with regards to the races that you'll do with the outrigger versus a war canoe?
Like distance-wise and even environment-wise, like the ocean, like it would be very challenging to take our war canoes into an open ocean, like doing the Catalina crossing, or even we just did the gorge outrigger race.
That's right. But I mean, I remember you telling me that there's a historical component to war canoes and to outrigger canoes, just from like I guess you could say like historical sense between Indian tribes or between native tribes. Mm.
So, well, we can. How deep do you want to get? Because we can go to how war canoe started, and there's a strong history there. A huge part of it was racing to honor the veterans of the past and honor the veterans that were in the wars. That's a part of why it's called war canoe. The other reason is pre-contact. before any settlers or anybody came to our territory, there was still raiding coming from the north, and they had the big ocean going canoes, like the great big ones, not like the kind you see today, but like big.
Yeah.
When the trees were bigger, right? They would come down and do raids, and our people down here kind of got tired of it, so they started building these sleeker, longer, faster canoes, and they were kind of stashed off to the side. And when the raids would happen, and they would come down and take belongings, children, whatever, the history says, but our people would get in our faster canoes, chase them down, and go get our belongings back, go get our family back. That's kind of the history of War Canoe. And, raiding stop.
Yeah.
Things change.
And it becomes a sport.
We have these really fast canoes. Hey, let's start competing against each other.
Would you say there is some form of, like, is it all in sport, or is there still some form of rival, especially when you get to like past like this area, right? You are competing in worlds in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And you are competing against many different, not only countries, but many different areas.
Yeah.
And so is it still just a sport, or is there that little bit of like, because of the history, because of just like that ancestral thing, does it feel more than a competition?
It does. And a lot of people have a hard time seeing the bigger picture of it all, that we get, even myself included, sometimes get so focused on the competition part of it that you forget the bigger picture of the health and wellness that paddling brings to all communities throughout the world. And it's a worldwide thing. And, I can't speak too much on the history of how the outrigger racing started, or Tahitians call it the va'a racing. I would assume it'd have to be some sort of similar type thing where they used them for travel. They used them for the outriggers for that type of thing.
Built out of necessity.
Yep.
And then became sport.
Yes. And that's just an assumption, so don't
Yeah,
apologize if that's completely off.
When did Rikkole Cree get into outrigger?
Oh, so my wife has been, like I said, paddling for a little longer than I have. And back in 2010, she did the Queen Leleukalani race in Kona. That's an 18-mile race, outrigger race. So that was my first exposure to outrigger racing, was 2010. But she did that with Autumn Rose Canoe Club, and back then, Autumn Rose Canoe Club used to just say, hey, we're going to go to outrigger race, and throughout our circuit, just put the invite out for people to come join and go paddle the world and see new places and meet new people. So we had the opportunity to do that. So for Rikkole Cree Canoe Club as a club, I would say that was the start of it, because one, you get to do what we love,
right,
paddling, and you get to go see the world doing it.
You get to compete and see where you stack up.
Oh yeah, and that's huge, because there's the competition out and about is huge.
Yeah. So with that, let's talk about the biggest competition you guys have coming up.
Okay.
So Hawaii's coming.
It is.
Hilo. It's IVF World Sprints.
International Va'a Federation World Sprint Championships.
Sprint Championships.
It's a whole mouthful.
And you, as not only are you going as a steerer of Rikkole Cree, but you are also going as an elite male, both as an individual, where you are meshing with other people around the country because you're representing the U.S. Yep. So you have this team that is built of many different people.
Yep.
Not Rikkole Cree. You are competing with Rikkole Cree, and you are competing as a, I hate to throw out your age here, but you're also competing as a 40 plus.
Correct.
How did all of that happen? Like, that's a lot. And not only for Rikkole Cree Crew Club, yep, which is amazing, but then for you as an individual, that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of racing. Clearly, you're very good at it. How did it come about that you got into this huge race?
Just by chance. So when we went to the qualifying race, I don't even know what it's called, but we went to Sacramento last year, and it just looked like we wanted it. We had such a good season last season, and we just wanted to extend our season. And we saw this race coming up in Sacramento, and we're like, let's go to Sacramento. Let's go have some more
Purely
fun.
by chance.
Yeah, let's go have some more fun. Let's go do some sprints. We kind of knew that it was, I think it's the Nationals, but I didn't 100% know that it was qualifying for a spot on Team USA, for a chance for our club to go represent the United States on a world stage. So it was by chance. Like we just wanted to continue our summer and have fun, and we trained really hard for it and went down there and qualified. I qualified for the V1 for the Masters 40 and over. I got to team up with Autumn Rose Canoe Club for the 40 and over men's. Competed with my own men's canoe club for the open men. And then out of that, I don't 100% know how the selection was made for the Elite Team USA. I'm thinking it was the time trial for the V1s. Mm-hmm. Had a big part to do with it. So I did I did qualify for the Elite Team USA and have been told that I am steering for them as well.
That's a lot.
That's a
lot of pressure on you.
It's all right here. Yeah.
And that takes us to the pressures and not only the competitive pressure, but the cultural pressure, and how that can lead to overuse, that can lead to overtraining, that can lead to getting some of that tension out, yep, both as a club and as an individual. And where you and I started kind of chatting, not just to like unstick your body from the repetitive nature of your injuries, but also we had started digging deeper in as far as how can we mitigate this for you and for your club.
Yeah. So, and you do bring up the pressures of the actual performance of the physical activities that we do and the strain that it puts on our bodies. But, one thing that you and Cam actually opened me up to was the pressure that it puts on our minds and how our minds control even how we sit or how we stand or how we 20 minutes before a race, we start tensing up.
Yeah.
Like in the little tricks that you can learn through your services and reaching out to other athletes who understand the complete physical part of it is just relax a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing with paddling is because it's so repetitive, we can look at the sport and identify common themes throughout injury, yep, like the common injuries that might pop up other than like catastrophic things. And so I'll say from experience from the paddlers I've worked on, hip flexors, low back, bicep tendonitis are the common ones, right? Yep. You're constantly reaching, shoulders, mid back strength. These are common things just based on the mechanics of what you guys do. And then when you couple that with the volume you guys do, we can make pretty fair assessments on ways to mitigate those injuries before they become injuries.
Yep.
And so a few weeks ago, I went and spoke to the Rikkole Cree Canoe Club, or at least everyone going to Hilo. And from the sound of it, it's working out.
Yeah. So just having somebody outside of myself and my wife and my father-in-law just sharing something with them, they were fully engaged.
Yeah.
And I still really thank you for coming and doing that, because it just opens up their mind to grow as a paddler and not just be stuck doing one thing over and over. Like, how can I improve on what we're doing? And just every little bit helps. Yeah.
So when we go into get ready, because this will probably come out later, but it is currently August 6th, and you are leaving in a week.
August 13th.
Yeah. How are you feeling about it?
Excited, nervous, ready. I just got to keep reminding myself it's only paddling. It's only paddling.
When it is only paddling.
It is. Yep.
And I guess it is hard because we just spent some time talking about that cultural component of it. How does it differ when you're dealing with other countries? Because we spent some time talking about, as much as we want to talk about the culture of native people in America and the whole thing, now we're entering a world with Brazilians and Tahitians, and I mean, you mentioned Tahitians are the big boys.
Yep, Maoris, Hawaiians, all of it, and being able to travel we went to New Zealand in, I think it was 2011 or 2012. My wife and I got to go race in New Zealand, and the Maori people there were so welcoming and friendly and open, and shared, what was shareable with their culture and what paddling means to them. And the parallels that we have with Native Americans here to Maoris over there. Even watching, I have met a few Tahitians, but I haven't really got to spend time with them in their country, in their waters. But, it's a safe assumption to make that a lot of the culture and a lot of the teachings that go with the canoe, that go with the respect for the water, the respect for the body, the respect for, the canoe itself, the paddle, a lot of them have to be parallel or identical.
I would imagine as such.
And, we're all connected by that water everywhere. I mean, the entire world is connected by that water.
So when you go to join this elite group, I think you're part of a V12 Elite, or is that with the Rikkole Cree crew?
Both.
Okay. Is everyone on the boat some form of a tribal native member?
So for Rikkole Cree Canoe Club, we are.
Yep.
And we aren't exclusive when we go to outrigger races. I have a lot of friends outside of tribal who aren't enrolled tribal members that paddle with us and that I enjoy paddling with. So, the outrigger circuit is kind of opened up. Our War Canoe still strictly tribal members only. And our canoe club is really just one family. So it's my sisters and brothers and my wife's sisters and brothers and cousins, and it's all one family.
When you look at the other canoe clubs in the area, is it very similar? Like it's primarily all tribal, one family.
Yep.
Kind of, because we had talked once that you're in Rikkole Cree from your wife.
Correct.
But you are Lummi?
Correct. So Rikkole Cree is from Lummi.
Okay.
Yeah. So my father-in-law, Rick Edwards, is Lummi. I was born and raised Lummi. I was enrolled in Lummi until I moved out to Nooksack, and then relinquished Lummi and enrolled Nooksack. My entire family on my mom and dad's side are all Lummi. Rikkole Cree was founded in Lummi and started in 1990. I'm going to get this wrong, 91 or 92. And lived in the canoe itself, lived in the Lummi canoe shed all the way up until 2013. 2012 is when I kind of started steering and taking over the coaching and we moved Rikkole Cree out to the shed in Nooksack. So it's got a long history in Lummi.
It does. You've been steering for a long time.
Since 2000. So practicing 2010 to 2012, just taking kids out. 2012, Lummi Stamish was my first time steering an 11-man in a race, 11-woman canoe in a race. Yep.
What made you attached to kind of taking more of an ownership role? I mean, because I've seen, like I said, I know many of the Rikkole Cree members. They all look at you as the leader of that crew.
Short answer?
Short answer.
Father-in-law said, "Get in the back." Like, so, okay, Dad.
But there is clearly something about you, because not only that, when you look at the elites coming up, clearly you have the best in the country. And we had talked about they tried 4 or 5 guys. Here you are, not even wanting it to begin with. You just wanted to paddle and push hard.
Yeah.
And yet here you are selected to steer for the U.S.
So there's definitely a spiritual side to what we do as paddlers. And I really give credit to who my ancestors were. A lot of my ancestors were paddlers. A lot of them were canoe builders, canoe owners, steersmen. And it's something that I don't take for granted, the ability to steer a canoe, because a lot of people can't, but there's a lot of things on the canoe that I can't do. Like in our war canoes, in the middle of the canoe, you have to slide. So you do 14, 15 strokes and you slide to the other side.
And it's wider in the middle.
It's wide, yeah.
So you prefer to be either top or bottom.
Can't be in the front either, because I'm a little bit on the heavier side. We ride in the canoe this way, but and that sets the pace and tempo and breaks water. Like I've tried sitting up there. I can't do that.
Right.
I've been put in the middle of a canoe. I couldn't do that. It's just by default that the only place I can go is in the back.
Right.
Yeah.
When you look at how, because you obviously know your team and you know Rikkole Cree, and we've talked a little bit about injuries, and I don't want to, thankfully yours hasn't been too big and most of your members haven't been too big. You clearly know your members. How do you feel about potentially skippering or steering for a lot of other people that you don't know?
Yeah. So you're talking specifically to going to Worlds and steering for a completely different team. So it's scary. But fortunately, in order to get a seat on the canoe that I'll be steering, you have to be pretty good at what
you have to be good.
And I did get a chance to meet. I think I met all of the men that are going to be on the elite men's crew in April in Florida. We had a week long training week down in Florida with our coach Paolo, who's the elite team USA coach. And from day one, we got on the canoe, and oh man, he put us through a workout. And this is in April, mind you, and I just started thinking about getting on the canoe. So it was kind of like, I think we did something like 20 miles in the first 2.5 days. Like, just, he tore us up. But from the first mile, just paddling with those guys, you can tell they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
You can tell they were where they belong. Like, and it was a good feeling. It felt like I was with my crew. And that's how it should be. If paddlers are coached up right, you should be able to jump on a canoe and fit in.
How often are Worlds? Like, is it every year? Is it every other year? Is it?
So there's two different. There's and I'm not too. I don't have too much knowledge on the IVF and Worlds, but I believe the sprints are every 2 years, and it alternates with distance champions every 2 years.
So, are you looking at future races with IVF after this one, or are there other qualifiers that now that you're here?
Sprints is something completely different for us. We've never done sprints before. It's fun. It's just the way it works is there's so many heats, so many categories, like the open, juniors, masters, senior master. There's so many categories, and it's turned into I think we're in Hilo for something like 12 days.
Crazy.
It's a long time to be gone. So I enjoy that we get to travel, and I enjoy that we get to participate, but the traveling part is kind of tough. The distance, however, me personally, I prefer doing distance.
When are those
sprints.
qualifiers?
I don't even know. They got to be coming up pretty soon. I think they're racing next year, so it's got to be coming up pretty soon.
And that's something that you're going to look to for your crew?
I think so, yeah.
It's amazing. Clearly, this is huge for you. This is a big part of your life, especially during the season.
Yep.
And even after this, there's still more racing to be done.
Yep.
What are some of the key takeaways that you've learned, not only in going through, this is 2010, so 2012, we're talking about 12 to 15 years of paddling. Mm. And this year is unique in that you have Worlds and it just everything about it. And even knowing us and kind of all the stuff we've done. What are some of the takeaways you've learned for paddlers? Like, if you're here and you're going to give a message to paddlers, like, what are some of the things that you've learned just in prep for this season as we have kind of we're turning the corner to the end of it, right? Mm. And you've clearly had a great season.
Yep.
Every time I talk to you, we won this race, we won that race, we're crushing it.
Yeah.
Do you have any key takeaways physically as the sport goes, and then as the rest of it goes?
Put in the work, put in the time. There is no shortcut. That goes for the nutrition, the sleep, the hydration. There's just no shortcuts. I've noticed a trend where people want that win right away. They want to be on top right away. It took Rikkole Cree Canoe Club and # men a long time to get where we're at. There was no shortcuts taken. It was all work and doing it the right way. So don't be in a hurry to get there. My father-in-law told me when I first started paddling, it's going to take you 5 years to be a good paddler. And the first 2 years that I trained, my skipper at the time, I didn't even get on the 11-man or the 6-man. I'd have to walk down the beach with my paddle and say, "Oh, I'm training with Rick and John.
Yeah.
I'm training. I'm just not on yet." And so, other canoe clubs that were looking for paddlers to get on would, "Oh yeah, come with us. You can come with us."
Yeah.
I only sit 10. So,
I can only do this.
I can only sit right here. And it's kind of funny because they say a good paddler can sit in any seat, but I've only went from 10 to 11 because I couldn't do the other ones. So yeah, just no shortcuts.
No shortcuts. Put in the work.
Yeah.
And I would say I would also add, just there is more to the sport than just the activity of paddling on the water, and paying attention and prioritizing the stuff that you do outside of the canoe, specifically with regards to like active recovery and rest, because it is a grueling season. If you're not paying attention, oftentimes those sneaky things can like catch up.
Oh yeah. You can get a lot of nagging things on your body that if you ignore it, it's gonna be like, oh crap, in a week. Like when I first came to your office, it was my hip, and that was just in preparation for preseason stuff. That was trying to run, and my body's just. I'm not old, but I got some miles on me. My body just wasn't responding how I wanted it to respond, and my back wasn't responding how I wanted it to respond. And you just have to learn new. I guess it's not new stuff. It's just have to learn the proper way to address those issues before they get out of hand.
Yeah. Well, I can clearly say I've never seen you look better. We talk a lot about your times and how you perform on the water. You have not taken any shortcuts. You have not done anything as far as you've done everything the right way. And I not only appreciate your consistency with your rehab, your willingness to share the message to your crew and the will. Like literally every time I've talked to you, if I've given you any bit of information, you're like, guess what? I'm telling my team this.
Yep.
Because they all need to get better. Yep. You are very good about sharing.
Yep.
Which I think is incredible.
And I've even been open with other canoe clubs within our War Canoe circuit. Like, I've went and like gave what I can give to them, like how to paddle or how to practice, how to train.
Yeah.
Some of the teachings that were given to me, and it's like it was given to. It's knowledge is given to people. Not just to hold on to and get buried with, like share that knowledge. And so my father-in-law told me, it's not how good you get, it's how many you get good. And, I try to live by that. Like, it's not how good you get, it's how many you get good. And I really owe a lot of the way our canoe club operates to the stuff that he's taught.
I think this is why you are a skipper. I think this is why you're a steersman. Like, just in hearing you speak about every time I've talked to you, it's never been about your V1. It's never been about your elite team. It's always been, or your elite individual performance. It's always been about Rikkole Cree and your men and even the women that you're steering. And how can I get them better? What can I take from this? Hey, Amar, I know we're here talking about my back, but I have somebody that's hurt this. Like, can you give me something for everything you do is about somebody else. Yeah. And that's why you're skipping. The pun aside, a rising tide raises all ships. Like I think that there's a point to that, and I think you are the epitome of a good coach and leader, and I'm so excited to see what you do not only in Hawaii but beyond, because you have Catalina coming up.
Yep.
You have hopefully a qualifier for distance next year.
Yep.
You are. Yes, you're above 40, but you are still young in this game.
Yep.
And you're paddling better than ever.
There are categories in Outrigger for 70-year-olds and over.
Are they really?
Oh yeah. Yep. And those. I mean, So I'm gonna tell you the first time I went to Kona. So Queen Leleʻukalani race, and I had no idea about nutrition, no idea about the physical preparation it takes to do a distance race, and it's 18 miles, and it was brutal. Like probably one of the most brutal things that, races that I've ever done. That and the Bellingham Bay Half Marathon. Did that without, that was dumb. But about 3/4 of the way through the race, I'm just trying to hang on. And I look over and these all silver hair just flying by us. Like, and you can go even down to the gorge or anywhere. I had an experience at the gorge too, first time doing the gorge. Just trying to muscle it and everything with all my might. Here comes these older guys. It's just
Smooth.
paddling. It's just paddling.
I was a rower the other way, like crew.
Yeah.
And it's
Backwards.
backwards. I only go backwards. And it's interesting because there's a few similarities, but one of the big ones is technique and like your relationship with the water.
Yep.
Like water can be your best friend or it can be your worst enemy. And if it's kind of like swimming, like if you are flopping around and dragging, you are making it way harder on yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
And and that's why I had the question about the elite team of people you don't know, because the team aspect matters so much because you guys have worked together to enter in the water, exit the water at the same time, reduce drag, reduce friction, like, and so now you're entering this world of like new people. But it sounds like everyone kind of knows their stuff.
It seemed pretty good when I met with them in April. It was good. There was something I was just thinking about when you were talking. Oh, the technique type stuff, and even, and I give so much credit to this season for the work that I got to do with you with just how to even just take care of your hips. Because if you don't know how to take care of your hips and the water is shaking you all over the place, I mean, it's going to make for a miserable race. If you don't know how to just relax your neck.
Relax your neck.
Like, how much power are you going to come? How much power comes from right here in the back of your neck?
But what I mean? and a lot of that is instinctual. Like we talk about experience in 5 years to make a good paddler. The instinct when you're in water is to fight the water.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just part of it. And part of breaking that is habituating yourself to new movement patterns. And that only comes with time and practice. And so you are the epitome of taking info and applying it consistently to something and then having the result you're having.
Yeah. Time and practice and repetition. And then what does repetition bring you? Injuries. And then where do we come back to? Look at that vicious cycle.
Look at the vicious cycle. There's a reason. There's a reason I went to do
Genius.
the talk. Everstrong for all your physical therapy needs. You're going to crush it in Hawaii. You're going to do amazing things. If people want to watch, I think you said Paddler TV.
Ocean Paddler TV, I believe, will be live streaming.
I'm going to try to get this thing out and done before.
Okay.
But either way, if this does happen to come out after, Rikkole Cree Canoe Club, anywhere in Bellingham, and all the races around, you guys are kind of the creme de la creme.
Thank you.
And it's been a pleasure working with you guys. Anything else you wanted to add to the end of this bad boy?
No, I just want to give a shout out to Rikkole Cree Canoe Club and all of the Pacific Northwest paddlers. There's actually quite a few Pacific Northwest paddlers going to Hilo, and that's including the Coast Salish territories and First Nations from Canada. There's quite a bit of us going. And the cool thing is we get to go represent not only our First Nations, our families, our people, but the entire Pacific Northwest. And there is a huge backing of supporters in our towns and in our state and, in British Columbia. So, when we go, let's just give it our best shot. Like, I'm excited for all of our people that get to go and participate.
Is this a strong area for paddlers? Like
it really is. I mean, even who's that top surf ski? There's a lady, young girl, Anna. I think her name is Anna Swedish. I think she just won gold in a surf ski, like a kayak competition.
Really?
I believe so. And then there's some SUP paddlers out here that are really good. I mean, it's Pacific Northwest is huge for paddling.
Well, I can't wait to see what you guys do.
I want to thank even the rowers that are over in the Olympics right now, a lot of them came from UW.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, UW has that movie, Boys and you know.
Oh, yeah, that was.
I'm from the East Coast. I was the East Coast rower. I was the enemy in that movie. I was the bad guy in that movie. I was part of the East Coast crew. But it's gonna be exciting to see you guys go next week and do what you do best.
It's gonna be fun. Yep, look forward to it.
Joe, thank you so much. Remind me of the ancestral name one more time.
Wyoxted.
Wyoxted.
Yep.
Wyoxted.
Yep.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate the time, and I'll see you when you're back.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, and peace.